Hi, Ray Middleton here, System Broker of Fulfilling Lives, and welcome to a series of films about Ladder4Life. And that's a learning community that you're welcome to join, so you might want to grab a pen and paper and make some notes about the film. And what you're particularly looking for is some good habits or skills, helpful habits, and also some unhelpful habits where people get stuck. Because this is a learning community, learning knowledge and skills around complex needs. So that's when people have combinations of mental health problems, addiction problems, and other kinds of problems like housing, homelessness, offending, those sorts of combinations of problems.
4 areas it's worth opening up a dialogue about are motivation and direction in life, handling emotions, building relationships, and problem solving as a process. And we put these 4 areas into a story with a picture, Ladder4Life. Here is the story. There was someone who headed off on their journey through life, and they were on track to get to the top of the hill, which represents their desires and hopes for life to the full, which is any way in which they wanted their life to get better in the future. On their journey, they came across rocks on their path, representing the problems we all come across as we journey towards the life we desire. They got out their ladder for life that we all have for overcoming the problems and challenges on our journey, and the rungs of the ladder are made out of the skills or helpful habits that we've learned. And there are 7 rungs of the ladder, and these are: the first rung is sizing up or describing a problem, and the second rung is handling our emotions about the problem, and the third rung is managing conflict around difficulties we've got on our journey with other people or with ourselves. The fourth rung is about asking for help or cooperating when building relationships with others as we journey together. And the 5th rung is about planning solutions. The 6th rung is acting on these plans. And the 7th rung is reflecting on the process and thinking, what have I learned and what can I change as a result? Now, some rungs of their ladder for life were damaged and in need of repair and strengthening. So some problems were too big to overcome with their ladder. And so they tended to get sidetracked into the dead end of the blue forest, which is quite common for us all. And sometimes, reacting to the difficulties on their journey of getting to the top of the hill, they developed some unhelpful habits and got stuck in the quicksand on their journey. The unhelpful habits which developed were combinations of thinking, emotions, and actions. For example, anxious avoidance would be an unhelpful habit. And there are lots and lots of these different kinds of unhelpful habits which are common to develop. And the helpful habits or skills that were developed on the journey to make the rungs of the ladder to overcome difficulties are also made up from combinations of thinking, emotions, and actions. So, for example, asking for help would be a helpful habit or skill on the rung of the ladder. So grab a paper and pen and make some notes about any unhelpful habits or helpful habits or skills that you hear discussed. And in particular, make a note of any connections that emerge or you hear as you listen carefully between different issues discussed. And this week we're going to talk about cooperating with people and asking for help. So we'd just like to say who we are.
I'm Donna, I'm chair of the Experts by Experience group, Newcastle Gateshead.
I'm David, I'm part of Experts by Experience.
I'm Derek, national lead for the Experts by Experience, Newcastle Gateshead.
Thanks. So we're thinking about relationships, and we've had a really good chat about dealing with conflict, but the other side of the human condition is that we all have to deal with relationships of different kinds, and it's not always about conflict. Sometimes it's about cooperating with people, and that can be about helping other people out or asking for help, and that can be quite a difficult kind of area. So have there any thoughts or reflections about maybe why it might be difficult to cooperate with other people or to ask for help? What comes to mind when we think about this topic?
For me, I was always really, really anxious about asking for help. So I found it really hard to cooperate. It was like going back to didn't trust anybody. I was always this angry girl.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Donna. So
I didn't want to be seen as being weak, so I wouldn't ask for help.
Right, so there's something really important there about when you were younger, there was something about trust, and you didn't want to ask for help, partly because you didn't.
I didn't want to be seen as being weak. I didn't trust people.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be seen as a failure. Plus, the shame I felt of like what had happened in my life and stuff. I found it really hard to open up and talk about that.
And has something changed in that area a little bit, that shifted, or is it still difficult to ask for help? Or have you
I still struggle to ask for help, but I find it a lot easier these days. Now I'm clean and my head's in the right place, and I know where I'm at, and I feel quite safe. So I'm all right now. I'll still maybe go home and mentally beat myself up a little bit. I should have been able to do this myself. Or, but now there's no shame in asking for help.
That's a great idea for people to kind of reflect on. So now you don't feel any shame in asking for help. That's so important, isn't it? And also feeling safe. So there was something you said there about feeling safe.
Because I've been in a lot of really bad abusive relationships, and I've been manipulated a lot in my life. I never ever felt safe. I never ever trusted anybody or anything like that. And
it sounds like things are a bit.
Things are a lot better. I'm in a lot better place now. So
that's great to hear, and you're in a lot better place now, which is great to hear too. So, any thoughts from anyone else here about this? If you reflect on what Donna said there about asking for help. Makes us feel vulnerable, maybe, or any other thoughts about why asking for help is difficult?
Well, for me, it's it's actually part of where I am now. Pride, because it was a series of circumstances 3 years ago, and something snapped inside me. So I thought, well, I can't go on job seekers and sign up on that and do everything I wanted, so I decided, no, I'd rather die than do that. So I decided to rely on my own savings. And then I knew I was down the slippery slope of it's going to be time I'm going to have no money. And I thought, okay, that's my decision, but it meant such a lot to me to make that decision that if I had to go on that, I wouldn't be here. It was that kind of thing, It was really a build up and a result of how I felt all my life, having problems and not being able to deal with them, and my self-esteem, and then kind of crashed. Then it kind of became catastrophic, but then I kind of decided on that. And
so, are you connecting there the difficulty you found asking for help with kind of your self-esteem?
Yeah.
And did you manage to shift a bit?
No, it was. I actually got the help enforced on us because I was behind on my rent, council tax, and I got letters and I was expecting it, and then I went to the office. I said, "Look, here's my keys. Get the bailiffs in, take everything I've got. I'm away," and I had to say that I was going to commit suicide. And then I got support workers and they helped me out.
And then when you did get help, what was that experience like?
It was very humbling because I still thought that I didn't deserve it, because I thought it was even though what happened, the situation, what happened was out of my control, I still took the controlling thing of how I reacted to that circumstance of events. Rather than try and fight and get help, I thought, no, I don't want to go on job seekers, so it was my decision and I don't deserve help. So that's how I I went completely the other way.
So there's something there to capture about there are a few different reasons there, but one of them is not feeling you deserved help. I've heard you right, and so that was partly why you weren't asking for help. So, and that could be connected to people's self-esteem. Definitely. I'm thinking, and so maybe a reason some people find it hard to ask for help is not feeling that they're entitled to or worthy or their self-esteem.
Exactly.
And then what I'm hearing is that led to more problems for you.
Yeah.
That's really helpful to reflect on and think about.
It's a really powerful viewpoint.
Yeah.
So I've never really kind of said that way before.
Yeah. That's really helpful.
I'm a bit disturbed because I get flashbacks of what happened.
Right.
But I still think it's very valuable that I've actually kind of discussed this, because somebody else who's listening to this will identify with this.
Very much so.
That's a guarantee.
Yeah.
And you do think that because of the way you think your self-esteem, that you're not worthy of help, so you don't ask for it.
That's such an important and valuable point. I'm really pleased that you were able to share that, because as you say, other people listening to this can reflect on that, and whether they're someone experiencing difficulty themselves or whether they're a worker trying to help people and puzzling about why their offers of help aren't being responded to. There's this rich description from people who are experts by experience of saying it might be about this self-esteem and not feeling valued. It could be about past experiences. There's such a variety of things that it could be. People can get curious about. So thank you. I'm just wondering, Terry, this question about asking for help and finding that difficult. Have you any thoughts on cooperating with other people?
Not asking for help was pride, fear, and also getting vulnerable. Not wanting to show a vulnerable side because of the way that I lived, the people I associated with. You couldn't show a vulnerable side. That would be used against you. But when I changed the way I lived to the way I live today, it's actually a very, very good asset to ask for help, because you're not stuck in self. You're able to progress on a daily basis, so that it's not pulling you back. It's not keeping you within that behaviour. And I think when you can sit down, whether it be a mediator, or whether it be a friend, or whether it be a work colleague, and be able to ask for, I'm not sure if it's all necessary help or necessarily help. It's their opinion on a certain matter. Then you're still asking for help, whether it be in conflict or any other of the stuff that we've spoke about. It's just how we ask, and it's asking in the correct manner.
That makes a lot of sense. There was a lot there, Terry, about, you touched on the idea of fear. If you ask for help, you're becoming vulnerable, and maybe that fear and vulnerability is part of the resistance of us feeling it's difficult to ask for help. And then the part of the skills are learning to actually, in order to progress, is what I heard you say, that we do need that skill of being able to maybe overcome the fear and the vulnerability of asking for help if we're going to progress on our journey of life and not be stuck. And that can be a challenge, but it's possible to learn that skill about asking for help. And as you say, the offers of help may or may not be helpful, but then we're not going to find out, is what I'm thinking, if we don't actually be brave and ask for some help, be a bit vulnerable and say, well, actually, I need a bit of help. So we're going to keep this fairly short. Any final thoughts about this idea about asking for help? It's sort of brought up a lot of really useful, valuable points and skills. So any final thoughts?
I think for me, never have asked for help and stuff like that. There's no shame in it, and I need people just to take that on board. Don't ever feel like you can't go and ask for help. There's plenty of help out there. And there's a lot of good people out there that aren't out to harm you in any way or anything like that. That's one thing I can share. That's it.
Thanks, Donna. That's great for people to think about. That there's no shame in asking for help, and it can be quite helpful if you do.
And I find like by actually having the strength and say give up a bit of vulnerability, ask for help, people are quite actually pleased by asking for help, and they're really giving, and it's a joy to them to give information to help you out. They feel glad that you've entrusted in them to ask for some advice.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a two-way thing.
It is. We're human beings are relational, aren't we? We're all in relationships, and that's how part of how we make sense of life. So that asking for help gives people the opportunity to show their skills, and as we might respond if someone asked us for help, and that's part of the human condition. Is being able to open up and have that strength to be able to ask for help.
It can create a bond as well.
It can create a bond.
Because of that.
Yeah.
Create like long friendships and everything.
Definitely, it can create a bond.
And understand the people.
Yeah.
I think because you might have a totally wrong conception of somebody, say at work, for instance. Think, oh, they're this or that, but they've come and asked you for some help, and you're probably blown away by that. And that's just totally changed your interpretation of them.
Because it creates a bit of trust between those people who are asking for help and offering to help, and it can go both ways, and you can end up helping someone later who helped you. And create a bond. Yeah. That's great. Any final thoughts, Terry, before we end?
I think for me it was, and what I'm hearing in all of us is that it's been that finding that person that we know that we can trust and we can value their opinion and know that it won't be used against us, but then also accessing the correct medium for the help that we need, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. About
it's going to the correct source for the help.
Working out who is the appropriate place to ask for what help.
Yes.
So very different difficulties. You might want to ask different people. Who can you trust?
You can't go
to help. You know, if you've depending on what the nature of the problem is, you might want to trust different people to help with different problems.
So you go to who knows what.
It's a good point, working out who's appropriate to help with what problems, and that's a great skill as well to think about. So thank you everyone once again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hopefully now we've got a list of helpful habits or skills around asking for help that got mentioned, and also a list of unhelpful habits that we can get stuck in the quicksand around. And the third point would be that we're starting to make some connections between those habits to help increase our understanding. Feel free to share the film if you think other people might find this helpful. If I reflected on what I've just heard, it would start me to think around, if someone's finding it difficult to ask for help, it might be connected to feelings of guilt and shame around that difficulty. It could also be connected to not feeling safe and finding it difficult, the habit of not trusting other people. So I'd start to think about that and think, well, what can I do to increase my trustworthiness to other people? It would also make me wonder and be curious about whether, if someone's finding it difficult to ask for help and accept help, is it connected to their self-esteem, or feeling that how they judge themselves as maybe not valuing themselves, or feeling they're not deserving of or entitled to help as well? And that would help my understanding. And the other topic that crops up there and made me curious would be thinking, is it connected to fear and anxiety about how other people might judge me, or how other people might judge how someone else might judge them for seeing as a failure maybe, or as weak and vulnerable if they ask for help. So all of these connections to other habits help me to understand and make more sense of why it really might be difficult to ask for help, and why people get stuck in that quicksand habit of not asking for help, and why it's hard to build up that rung of the ladder that is asking for help in the Ladder for Life. So I'd like to invite you now to reflect and have an open dialogue yourself around the topic of asking for help. You could start by remember the 3 principles of open dialogue you could apply. The first one would be that we only ever partly know what's going on. The second one would be to value everybody's point of view in the social network when we're having an open dialogue, because everyone's got a unique point of view on their journey of life, and we're creating some knowledge in a conversation, in a network. And the third principle would be we need to take responsibility for our role and our resources we've got access to within someone's social network when we're having a conversation. And so maybe to start with, you could share what habits, helpful habits and unhelpful habits you noticed listening to the film, and then talk about 3 things maybe. Think about what am I like asking for help. Think about what are other people like asking for help and accepting it, particularly people with complex needs that we know. And the third important question to reflect and share upon would be, what are the skills that I could practice, that we could practice more to help shift someone a little bit to increase that skill of asking for help on that rung of the ladder for life?